Supreme Commander Ixil paced the gleaming bridge of the Imperial Fleet's flagship, the Devastator. His tentacle-like appendages twitched with irritation as he listened to the nervous science officer's report. "So, you're telling me," Ixil's voice rumbled through his translation device, "that we've lost contact with seven reconnaissance teams on this backwater planet?" "Why, yes, Supreme Commander," the science officer stammered. "All communication ceased within hours of deployment, just like the previous 12 expeditions." Ixil slammed his appendage against the holographic display, causing the image of Earth to flicker. The blue planet hung there, spinning innocently, looking utterly unimpressive compared to the advanced worlds their galactic empire had conquered over the last millennium. Impossible. This planet has primitive technology, fragmented governments, and spends most of its resources on pointless entertainment. How could it defeat our elite forces? Around the command center, other high-ranking officers shifted uncomfortably. Most had heard the rumors, the whispers among the fleet that Earth was somehow cursed. No invasion force ever returned. War Engineer Zexus, Ixil's most trusted advisor, cleared his throat. "Commander, perhaps we should reconsider. The reports from our long-range surveillance are concerning." "Concerning? We are the Galactic Imperial Fleet. We have decimated civilizations far more advanced than this. Earth." Ixil spat the word like it was poison. "Even so," Zexus persisted, "our intelligence suggests there's something unusual about their culture. Our psychological warfare experts can't make sense of it." From the corner of the bridge, a ragged figure suddenly burst into maniacal laughter. It was Specialist Krax, the sole survivor of a previous Earth mission. Found drifting in an escape pod at the edge of the solar system, he had never been the same since. Most of the crew avoided him, disturbed by his random outbursts. "You don't understand." Krax cackled, his eyes wild. "They don't fight like normal beings. They turned everything into, he struggled for the word, memes, rickrolls, TikToks." He dissolved into hysterical giggles. Ixil signaled for the medical team. "Take him back to his quarters. Increase his sedation." As they dragged Krax away, the specialist kept babbling. "When they say pizza with pineapple, run. Run while you still can." The bridge fell silent. Ixil turned to communications officer Vex. "Show me these transmissions from Earth that everyone finds so disturbing." A holographic screen materialized, displaying a chaotic collage of Earth broadcasts. News anchors reporting on wars juxtaposed with cooking shows, people screaming about politics followed by cat videos, solemn speeches about climate change mixed with dance trends. "This makes no sense," Ixil muttered. "How can a species be this inconsistent? Are they at war or having a party?" "Both, apparently," Zexus replied. "Our cultural analysis team attempted to decode something called memes, but 3 of our top translation supercomputers crashed attempting to find logical patterns." The screen showed a human laughing at an image of a banana with text saying, "I have no idea what I'm doing." "Turn it off," Ixil commanded. "This is absurd. Prepare the invasion fleet. We will succeed where others have failed. I will personally lead our forces to crush this Earth and end these ridiculous rumors once and for all." Zexus stiffened. "Commander, with all due respect." "That will be all. War Engineer," Ixil cut him off. "Assemble the fleet. We attack in 3 cycles." As Ixil marched off the bridge, Zexus exchanged worried glances with the other officers. They all knew the stories. No one who went to Earth ever came back quite the same, if they came back at all. The massive Imperial fleet, over 3,000 battleships strong, moved silently through the void, approaching Earth's solar system. On the flagship Devastator, Supreme Commander Ixil stood proudly, watching as his armada prepared to make history by finally subduing the anomalous blue planet. "Status report," he demanded. "All ships in formation, weapons charged, and invasion protocols initiated," replied Fleet Captain Yura. "We are approaching the outer edge of their solar system now." "Excellent. Any signs of defensive measures? Planetary shields? Orbital defense platforms?" Captain Yura looked confused. "None, Commander. In fact, we're detecting virtually no organized defensive systems whatsoever. Just millions of primitive satellites, most serving communication purposes. Ixil's brow furrowed. That cannot be right. Scan again. Already done, sir. Multiple times. Their most advanced weapon systems are rudimentary nuclear devices and a handful of space stations. Nothing that could possibly threaten our fleet. This was not what Ixil had expected. According to all logic, a planet that had repelled so many invasion attempts should be bristling with defensive technology. Yet Earth appeared completely vulnerable. What transmissions are we picking up from the planet? Ixil asked. Communications Officer Vex hesitated. Well, that's the strange part, sir. They don't seem to be reacting to our presence at all. We're intercepting millions of broadcast signals, but none concerning us. Play some, Ixil ordered. The bridge speakers came to life with a cacophony of Earth broadcasts. A cooking show host enthusiastically describing chocolate cake, a screaming sports announcer, someone selling teeth-whitening products, an argument about celebrities, and music, so much bizarre, chaotic music. Enough! Ixil shouted, and the sounds cut off. They must be aware of our approach. We're not exactly hiding. Actually, sir, reported Sensor Officer Quib, several of their amateur astronomers have noticed us and posted images online. But their governments appear to be dismissing these reports as conspiracy theories. Ixil pounded his command console. This makes no sense. Either they're employing some incredibly sophisticated psychological warfare, or they're genuinely unconcerned by our presence. Perhaps, sir, suggested War Engineer Zexus, we should send a small reconnaissance team to assess the situation before committing our full forces. Ixil considered this. Very well. Prepare an advance force of 40 elite soldiers. Deploy them to their most populous urban centers. What are they called? New York, Tokyo, London, Beijing, among others, replied Intelligence Officer Nexar. Send 10 soldiers to each. Full combat gear, stealth protocols. I want eyes on the ground before we initiate the main assault. Within hours, the elite infiltration teams were dispatched to Earth's surface in stealth drop pods. The bridge crew of the Devastator watched anxiously as the soldiers' vital signs and communication feeds were displayed on the main screen. First team has landed in New York, reported Captain Yura. No detection so far. The video feed showed a squad of Imperial soldiers in adaptive camouflage armor emerging from a concealed location in a place called Central Park. They moved with precision, weapons ready. Then something unexpected happened. A human spotted them. Instead of running in terror, the human pulled out a small device and began recording them. Within seconds, more humans gathered, all pointing devices at the soldiers. What are they doing? Ixil demanded. They appear to be documenting our troops, sir, said Officer Vex, bewildered, and broadcasting it live to their global information network. On screen, the Imperial soldiers stood frozen, clearly unsure how to respond to this bizarre reaction. Then the audio feed picked up what the humans were saying. Yo, these alien costumes are sick. Is this for the new Marvel movie? Nah, must be a TikTok prank. Watch, this is gonna go viral. Hey, spaceman, do the Macarena. I'll give you $100. Similar scenes were playing out in Tokyo, where passers-by were taking selfies with the bewildered soldiers, and in London, where someone had offered them a proper cup of tea before they got on with the invading business. Commander Ixil watched in horror as his elite forces stood paralyzed by the sheer absurdity of the situation. Order them to initiate intimidation protocol. Show these humans our power. The soldiers in New York raised their weapons, firing a warning blast that disintegrated a nearby tree. There was a moment of silence. Then the humans erupted in applause and cheers. That CGI is amazing. Best flash mob ever. This marketing campaign must have cost millions. In Tokyo, when the soldiers demonstrated their power, someone commented that the effects weren't as good as in the latest anime. In London, a police officer politely asked if they had a permit for the special effects. This is impossible, Ixil whispered, watching the scenes unfold. They should be terrified. Then, something even stranger happened. The soldiers' communications began to grow erratic. One by one, their tactical discipline wavered. Commander, said a soldier in Tokyo, they're offering us something called bubble tea. Should we? Should we accept? Negative. Maintain protocol. Ixel barked. New York team, called Captain Yura, report status. The squad leader's voice came through, sounding oddly relaxed. These humans are strange, Captain. They're not afraid. They're treating us like celebrities. Someone just asked for my autograph. I don't know how to respond to this. London team, Ixil called desperately. Implement threat posture alpha. Sir, came the response. We're currently participating in something called a flash mob dance. The humans insisted. It seemed diplomatically sound at the time. The video feed showed the Imperial soldiers awkwardly attempting to follow humans in a coordinated dance. Routine while a crowd cheered them on. Beijing team, report. Ixil demanded. Sir, we're at a place called a restaurant. The humans are insisting we try something called hot pot. It's actually quite delicious. Ixil stared at the screens in disbelief as his elite forces were systematically disarmed, not by weapons, but by hospitality, curiosity, and the bizarre fearlessness of humans. This is a trap, Ixil muttered. It must be. Pull all teams back immediately. But it was too late. Within hours, communication with all 4 teams became increasingly sporadic. Their final transmissions were not cries for help or reports of hostility, but confused, almost amused observations. They're not attacking. They're laughing. Sir, I think they like us. Commander, you wouldn't believe what they call entertainment here. And then silence. Supreme Commander Ixil stood motionless on the bridge, his normally imposing posture now rigid with shock. The entire command crew watched in uncomfortable silence as the last transmission from the reconnaissance teams faded to static. 40 elite soldiers. Ixil finally spoke, his voice unnaturally calm. 40 of our best warriors. Vanished without a trace, just like all the others. War engineer Zexus approached cautiously. Commander, this confirms the pattern. Something about Earth neutralizes our forces, but not through conventional warfare. Ixil turned to his strategic council. Theories? Explanations? Anyone? Science Officer Lorix cleared her throat. Sir, I've been analyzing the final transmissions. Our troops weren't under attack. They were being assimilated. Cultural contamination rather than physical violence. Nonsense. Ixil slammed his appendage on the console. Our soldiers undergo rigorous psychological conditioning. They cannot be culturally contaminated in a matter of hours. Intelligence Officer Nexar stepped forward. With respect, Commander, I believe we need to understand what happened before we escalate. I propose a different approach, cultural infiltration. We send operatives disguised as humans to integrate and gather intelligence on how they neutralize our forces. Ixil paced the bridge, his frustration evident. You want to send more of our people to that madhouse? After what we just witnessed, we would select operatives with enhanced psychological resistance, Nexar continued. They would have emergency extraction protocols and maintain regular contact. Their mission would be strictly intelligence gathering, to understand why our previous forces failed. There was a long silence as Ixil considered the proposal. Very well, he finally said. Prepare 3 operatives. They will infiltrate different social strata of Earth society. They will report every 12 hours. At the first sign of contamination, they will be extracted immediately. He turned to Zexus. Meanwhile, prepare the fleet for full-scale attack. If these infiltrators fail, we will resort to our original plan, orbital bombardment. 3 days later, the carefully selected operatives were dispatched to Earth with the most advanced disguise technology the Empire possessed. Each had been briefed extensively on human behavior, equipped with translation implants, and given strict protocols to maintain Imperial objectivity. Operative Tila landed in a rural area of the United States, programmed to infiltrate what intelligence identified as a typical family unit. Operative Mako was sent to a major urban center, New York City, to study human digital culture. Operative Drez was deployed to a remote community of survivalists or preppers, who, intelligence suggested, might be the most likely humans to recognize an alien threat. The command crew of the Devastator waited anxiously for the first reports. Operative Tila's first transmission came right on schedule, integration proceeding as planned. I have been accepted as a distant cousin by a family in a region called Alabama. They seem suspiciously welcoming, insisting I stay for Sunday dinner. Will maintain vigilance. Operative Mako reported. Urban environment secured. Have established identity as a social media consultant. Humans constantly engaged with handheld devices. Investigating viral content phenomenon. Operative Drez's message was more cautious. These preppers are highly suspicious of outsiders. Ironically, this makes my cover more effective. They believe I am escaping government surveillance. They are armed, but have shared their weapons cache locations with me already. Tactical assessment. Surprisingly trusting for such paranoid individuals. Commander Ixel seemed relieved by these initial reports. Good. They're maintaining protocol. Continue monitoring. But by the second day, subtle changes were appearing in the transmissions. Tila, family insisted I participate in ritual called barbecue and football. Maintain cover by consuming animal flesh cooked over open flame. Note, human food contains unexpected pleasure compounds. Require further analysis. Mako have discovered phenomenon called memes. Primitive yet sophisticated psychological warfare. Humans weaponize absurdity as coping mechanism. Example attached. The attached image showed a small earth creature called a cat with the caption, "Me pretending to work while the world burns." Several bridge officers inadvertently emitted sounds resembling laughter before quickly composing themselves under Ixel's glare. Drez's report was particularly troubling. Prepper group welcomed me into their bunker. They believe government conspiracies involve alien infiltration. Despite this, they shared their food, weapons, and something called moonshine. Note, moonshine impairs cognitive function, but increases sensory pleasure. Request permission to continue consumption for research purposes. By the fourth day, the changes in the operatives' reports were impossible to ignore. Tila, family has adopted me. Grandmother insists I am too skinny and must eat more biscuits and gravy. Have gained insight into human family structure, chaotic but functional. They argue constantly, yet defend each other fiercely. They invited me to something called karaoke night. For maintenance of cover, I performed a ritual song called Sweet Home, Alabama. They seemed pleased. Mako have established online presence. Created accounts on platforms called Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. My video demonstrating confusion about avocado toast has accumulated 2.3 million views. I am experiencing strange satisfaction from this attention. Query: is social validation a form of mind control? Drez's report was the most alarming. Preppers have accepted me as one of their own. We practice shooting during day, discuss conspiracy theories at night. They believe aliens exist but think government hides truth. Ironic. They offered to teach me to play guitar. Learning human music may provide insight into their resistance mechanisms. War engineer Zexus looked grim. Commander, I believe we're witnessing the early stages of cultural contamination. The same pattern that claimed our previous forces. Ixel nodded slowly. Sent extraction order to all 3 operatives. Immediately. But the response was not what they expected. Tila, acknowledge extraction order, but request 48-hour delay. AM in process of gathering critical intelligence about family dynamics during upcoming cousin's wedding. This opportunity to study human pair bonding rituals is invaluable. Mako, request postponement of extraction. Have gained influencer status online. Humans now voluntarily sharing psychological weaknesses through comments. Also have been invited to podcasts to discuss alien aesthetic. Could provide valuable counterintelligence. Drez, understand extraction protocol, but timing problematic. Group has invited me on fishing trip. Have reason to believe this ritual involves significant trust building. Also, have begun composing human country music about loneliness of space. Receiving positive feedback. Ixel exploded in fury. They're already compromised. Execute emergency extraction now. The extraction teams were dispatched, but by the time they reached the operatives' locations, the situation had deteriorated further. Tila was found dancing at a human celebration, having apparently consumed something called tequila, insisting that humans were just misunderstood and that the Empire really needed to loosen up a bit. Mako had barricaded himself in a studio apartment, refusing extraction because he was in the middle of going viral and had followers who depended on him. Drez was discovered sitting around a campfire with the preppers, playing an acoustic instrument and singing a self-composed song about the loneliness of being different in a vast, uncaring universe. The extraction team reported that several humans were weeping openly. When the three operatives were finally brought back to the Devastator, they were immediately placed in isolation for decontamination. But the damage was done. Their reports, when they could provide coherent ones, painted a disturbing picture. "They don't make sense, Commander," Tila explained, still occasionally breaking into human dance moves. "They fight among themselves constantly, but unite instantly against outside threats. They're capable of both tremendous cruelty and breathtaking kindness, sometimes to the same person on the same day. Their greatest weapon is absurdity," Mako insisted, fingers twitching as if still using a human device. "They face existential threats by turning them into jokes. They create art about their own destruction. They meme their own demise. They live with contradiction," Drez added quietly, strumming an imaginary instrument. "They can hold opposing views simultaneously. They fear aliens but write love songs about the stars. They prepare for apocalypse while hoping for utopia. It's beautiful in a way." Commander Ixil listened to these reports with growing horror. "They've been completely corrupted," he finally declared. "Quarantine all three and prepare them for deep psychological reprogramming." As the operatives were led away, Drez called back over his shoulder. "You can't beat them, Commander. Not with weapons. They've already survived their own worst impulses for thousands of years. What could we possibly do to them that they haven't already done to themselves?" Ixil turned to his command staff, his decision made. "Prepare all ships for direct assault. We end this now." The Imperial fleet moved into Earth's orbit, massive ships positioning themselves above major cities worldwide. On the Devastator's bridge, Supreme Commander Ixil watched with grim determination as the final attack preparations were completed. "All weapons systems online, Commander," reported Captain Yura. "Devastation cannons charged and targeted on primary human population centers." "Excellent," Ixil replied. "Begin countdown for synchronized strike. We will eradicate their major cities simultaneously, breaking their will to resist before they can implement whatever strange defense has claimed our previous forces." The massive view screen showed Earth rotating below them, beautiful and seemingly defenseless. Around the planet, Imperial warships moved into position, weapons ports opening to reveal planet-killing technology. "Countdown initiated," announced the tactical officer. "Planetary bombardment in 60 seconds. On the screen, they could see humans becoming aware of their presence. News broadcasts showed massive ships hovering over cities. Countless small devices pointed upward as billions of humans documented the armada. 50 seconds to firing. "Sir," called Communications Officer Vex, "we're detecting unusual transmission patterns from the surface." "Explain," Ixil demanded. It's not what we expected. No desperate pleas, no surrender offers. They're sharing images of our ships, but with modifications?" Adding commentary. "Show me," ordered Ixil. The screen filled with Earth's social media feeds. Humans were responding to the impending apocalypse with memes. Countless variations of Imperial ships photoshopped to look like household objects. Captions reading, "When you order an alien invasion from Wish.com," and "Mom, we have apocalypse at home." Videos showing humans with fake tentacles pretending to be commanders, speaking in ridiculous voices. 40 seconds to firing. "Sir," reported the security officer, "our systems are detecting multiple infiltration attempts. Impossible. Our defenses are impenetrable. It's millions of simultaneous attempts. Basic algorithms, but the sheer volume is overwhelming our countermeasures. On screens across the bridge, Imperial systems began to glitch. Displays flickered, showing strange imagery, humans dancing, animals in humorous situations, and repeatedly, a red-haired human male singing about never giving you up. 30 seconds to firing. Sir, our targeting systems are being compromised, yelled the tactical officer. Someone is accessing our weapons controls. Lock them out, Ixil roared. We're trying, but they're not using any recognizable hacking protocols. It's just noise. Millions of humans sending memes, videos, songs. The system can't filter the attacks from the nonsense. 20 seconds. Across the fleet, similar reports flooded in. Ship after ship reported bizarre system failures. Weapon systems rebooted to display dancing cartoon characters. Navigation computers played something called Baby Shark on endless loops. Communication channels filled with humans making bizarre impressions of alien voices. 10 seconds. Sir, the tactical officer's voice cracked with panic. The targeting locks are failing. Devastation cannons are. They're powering down. Override, Ixil commanded. I'm trying, but the systems are. They're receiving some kind of music video on all channels. Something called Rick Astley Never Gonna Give You Up? The view screens around the bridge suddenly filled with the image of a human male with red hair, dancing and singing. The same video appeared on every display, every console, every communication channel throughout the fleet. What is happening? Ixil roared. On the main viewer, the countdown reached 0. The moment of Earth destruction had arrived. But instead of devastating energy beams, the Imperial fleet hung silent and impotent in orbit, all systems hijacked by the most primitive yet somehow effective cyber attack in galactic history. Sir, Captain Yura reported, voice shaking. We're receiving transmissions from the surface. Millions of them. But they're not communications. They're celebrations. The screens showed humans around the world reacting to the failed attack. They were throwing impromptu parties, taking selfies with the ships in the background, creating dance routines, mimicking the fleet's movements. Hashtags like #AlienFail and #InvasionParty were trending globally. This isn't possible, Ixil whispered. They've weaponized. Nonsense. Commander, War Engineer Zexus approached cautiously. I believe we've discovered why no invasion force returned from Earth. Explain, Ixil demanded, though his voice had lost its commanding edge. They don't defeat their enemies. They absorb them. Their culture isn't a weakness. It's their ultimate defense mechanism. They've survived their own worst impulses for millennia by adapting, by finding humor in darkness, by turning fear into entertainment. Around the bridge, officers were staring transfixed at the screens, showing humans celebrating their non-destruction. Some were smiling. Commander, Zexus continued. Even now, I can feel it affecting our crew. Their chaos is infectious. Ixil looked around and saw it was true. Throughout the bridge, officers were watching the humans with something dangerously close to fascination. A navigation officer was discreetly attempting to replicate a human dance move. A security team was passing around a meme showing their own ships with googly eyes. We must retreat, Ixil decided suddenly. Before it's too late. All ships, withdraw immediately. Full retreat. But as the order was transmitted, something unexpected happened. Several ships didn't respond. Others sent confused acknowledgments. A few captains even questioned the order directly. Unprecedented in Imperial history. What's happening? Ixil demanded. Communications Officer Vex looked up from his console, expression troubled. Sir, I'm receiving reports from across the fleet. Many crews are reluctant to leave. Some are actively arguing against retreat. That's mutiny. Not exactly, sir. They're not refusing orders, they've developed a curiosity about Earth. The Shadowblade's captain reports his crew is invested in human television series and wants to see how it ends. Ixil stared in disbelief. This is the corruption. This is exactly what happened to our ground forces. Order all ships to break orbit immediately. But it was too late. The infection of human culture had spread throughout the fleet. Ships were picking up human broadcasts, crews were becoming distracted by Earth's endless stream of entertainment, and discipline was crumbling under the assault of memes and music. As the Devastator itself began to pull away, Ixil received a priority message from Imperial Command responding to his distress call. The message was clear. Earth was to be designated a Category Black quarantine zone, the highest danger level in the Empire's classification system. All future expeditions were forbidden. The official reason: extreme cultural biohazard. Ixil stood on the observation deck, watching Earth shrink to a blue as the Devastator accelerated away. Against regulations, he'd ordered a final transmission from the planet's surface, a direct feed of human activity. On the screen, humans continued their lives as if nearly being annihilated was just another Tuesday. They argued about food toppings, created art, fell in love, waged small wars, made peace, and above all, laughed. They turned their brush with extinction into entertainment, processing their fear through humor. War engineer Zexus joined him, watching the transmission. They really are remarkable, aren't they? In their own chaotic way. They're dangerous, Ixil corrected him. More dangerous than any species we've encountered. Not because of their weapons or technology, but because of... He gestured at the screen where humans were creating memes about the alien invasion fail. Their resilience, Zexus finished. Their ability to find humor in the darkest moments. To unite without unity. To create meaning from absurdity. Ixil nodded slowly. Add a note to the quarantine designation. Earth inhabitants not to be engaged under any circumstances. Their primary defense is not technological but mimetic. Exposure to human culture results in irreversible contamination of Imperial forces. As the Devastator jumped to hyperspace, leaving the solar system behind, Ixil couldn't shake the feeling that they hadn't escaped unscathed. Already, crew members were sharing human music. Someone had replicated a pizza in the food synthesizers, thankfully without the controversial pineapple. A security officer had been caught trying to teach the ship's AI to understand something called dad jokes. In his quarters that night, Ixil found himself humming a tune he'd heard in one of the Earth broadcasts. He caught himself and stopped immediately. But the damage was done. A small part of him wondered what would have happened if they'd stayed a little longer. Earth spun on, unaware or perhaps uncaring that it had just defeated the greatest military force in the galaxy without. Firing a shot, humans continued creating, arguing, loving, fighting, and laughing, especially laughing. Their greatest weapon, their most powerful defense, had always been their ability to find joy in a universe that made no sense. In the void between stars, other alien civilizations began receiving the official Imperial Bulletin, Earth designated Category Black, and no contact permitted. When they asked why such a primitive planet warranted such extreme measures, they received only one cryptic response. Trust us, you wouldn't get it. Meanwhile, on Earth, a teenager in Nebraska uploaded a shaky video of the departing alien fleet with the caption, "Aliens left the party early. Guess they couldn't handle Earth's vibe." It got 12 million likes. In her farmhouse living room, an elderly woman who had invited an oddly rigid cousin to her granddaughter's wedding looked up at the sky and smiled knowingly. In New York, a suddenly famous social media influencer who had appeared out of nowhere and then vanished just as quickly left behind a cultural legacy of alien aesthetic fashion. In a remote woodland camp, a group of preppers raised their beers to their missing friend who had written the best country song about space they'd ever heard. And somewhere in the Pentagon, in a deeply classified room, a small team of analysts added another tally mark to a whiteboard labeled Confirmed Alien Encounter Events. Beside it, a corkboard displayed photographs of unidentified visitors throughout the decades, each one looking progressively more bewildered by humanity. The senior analyst turned to his team with a grin. "Just once, I'd love to tell the world how we really defend Earth." A junior analyst looked up from her phone, where she was posting a meme about the recent definitely not aliens event. Would anyone even believe it? Probably not, the senior analyst laughed. That's the beauty of it all. Outside, humanity continued its chaotic dance of contradiction and creativity, its strange blend of division and unity, its absurd mix of tragedy and comedy, unwittingly continuing to build the most effective planetary defense system in the galaxy. A culture so vibrantly nonsensical that it served as both beacon and warning to the stars. Don't invade Earth. The message spread across the galaxy. They're weird. They're unpredictable. They're dangerous. And in the silent consensus of alien civilizations everywhere, an unspoken addendum formed. But most disturbingly of all, they're fun.